Hello, hello! I'm RedParagonG, and welcome to another episode of Project 3 Erolenis, the series where I rework my 4-year-old Fakemon region. As of this recording, I have a little over half of the official Pokedex completed, so let's keep this train rolling with another group of Fakemon. On November 2021, fellow Fakemon creator Dead Bedspread was working on a special Fakemon art collab. It was close to the holidays, so artists at the time made a bunch of chill mons to fit the season. 2 months later, the collab was complete, and it was filled to the brim with festively freezing fun. Now, you might be wondering, what does this have to do with Erblin? You see that pretty lady over on the top right corner? That is the very first Ice-type Pokemon in this series, Floroil. Floroil, the Regal Pokemon, an Ice Fairy type. A commanding presence in the snowy parts of Erblin, Floroil uses its magic to manipulate the snow and ice around it. There is a rumor stating that it once created an icy tower along the mountains, though this was never explored. Floroil and its pre-evolutions are Erblin's equivalent to the Gardevoir and Hattrem lines, which is good because I don't have a lot of fairy types that aren't regional forms. The line is based primarily on Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen, which also serves as a base for the Disney movie Frozen. The shinies for this line make this fact more evident. The abilities for this line are mostly consistent, but Faney and Wintress get Frisk instead of Queenly Majesty. Now, normally I draw my Fakemon lines in order from first to last. However, with the timing of the Festively Freezing collab, I decided to draw the final form after the first. It ended up helping me get a good idea for what Wintress would look like. This line can be found in the colder parts of Erblin, along with a few other Fakemon that we'll reveal in this episode. Firstly, there's Slumbu, a monotype ghost in a pillowcase. Anyway, this guy popped up during my run of Faketober 2021, where I created a bunch of other Halloween-themed Fakemon. I went back and redesigned Slumbu because I thought it had great potential in the Erblin region. It's based on Der Schwarzmann, a German bogeyman, the monster under your bed, and the Natamara, an entity that rides on people's chests and gives them nightmares. But Paragon, it's so cute, how could it give people nightmares, you might ask? Don't be fooled, Necrealm. Slumbu is a mischievous little fella. It sneaks into houses and pretends to be a pillow on people's beds, and its evolution expands upon this concept in spooky demeanor. Speaking of which, how does it evolve? Well, remember what I said in the previous episode? There is another Pokemon that evolves using this tablet, but that's another episode. Yep, this is the third Fakemon line that evolves by using the ancient tablet. Psychmare, the Night Terror Pokemon, a ghost psychic type. This Pokemon feeds off of dreams and gives people horrendous nightmares. Parents will often tell stories about Psychmare and how they'll frighten children who misbehave. As you can see, Psychmare now has pillows for hands and a blanket on its back. The blanket is there because of its Natamara influence, and it also blends in more easily on top of beds. The additional psychic type comes from the line's connection to dreams and nightmares, as well as the interaction between it and the ancient tablet. As a result, these guys would give the player a good incentive to backtrack to Hardwell Castle, since they'd show up well after your first run through it. The next line of Fakemon for today are Wickelite, Lucibomb, and Forestive. These three are grass electric type, and they are based on Christmas trees. Look, I know Christmas was a few months ago, but there is a big reason as to why I made them. Hear me out. The act of putting lights on Christmas trees originated in old Germany. Back then, they put candles on the trees instead of the string lights we're all used to. I thought I'd incorporate that bit of history into the line by having them showcase the evolution of Christmas lights. The first stage looks like a candle, while the other two resemble modern-day lights. The first two stages are also named after old sprite fusions I made. Wickelite gets its name from Visolite, and Lucibomb kinda sounds like Lucidron. By the way, if any of you actually watched that old series, you both have my respect, and apologies for dating myself. Anyway, this line has two main abilities, these being Lightning Rod and a brand new ability called Carnivorous. What this ability does is that it grants the user full immunity to Ice-type moves and hail damage. This alludes to the fact that coniferous plants don't lose their leaves in the wintertime. Oh, and their hidden ability is Snowcloak. These three are bioluminescent, making them easy to spot in the snowy plains of Erblin. They absorb sunlight just like other plant Pokemon, but doing this also fuels their electricity. I've noticed that Wicklite like to hop around in a circle. They all seem happy and endearing. Finally, there's a single-stage Pokemon that could easily adapt to a colder environment, and it also so happens to be our first time-lapse of the video! I was honestly struggling to come up with new ideas for my region when one day, while scrolling through Twitter, I stumbled upon this image. When I first saw the picture, I was immediately reminded of the 4 fossil fusions from the Galar region. It turns out to be a poorly constructed skeleton of a woolly rhinoceros called the Magdeburg unicorn, which was discovered in Germany back in 1663. I knew at that point I had to turn it into a Fakemon, so I took the skeleton and drew it how it looked if it were alive. That's basically it, really. Sometimes when you're drawing a character, regardless of whether or not it's a Fakemon, you don't want to overcomplicate it. This is especially true for normal types, as they are often very basic looking. And in spite of the newer additions last episode, I don't have a lot of normal types in Erblin, so this was a good opportunity to add another one. Magdahorn, the giant horn Pokemon, a pure normal type. These Pokemon have roamed the Erblinian mountains for centuries. Ancient remains are often mistaken for other Pokemon. However, some scientists concluded that it shares a relative with Rhydon. Well, what do you think? Might not be the most interesting of the bunch, but like I said, it is a normal type. Those guys can go both ways. In-Universe is one of the oldest recorded Pokemon in the Erblin region, a parallel to when the unicorn's fossils were found. This fact is also shared with its version-exclusive counterpart, but more on that another day. For now, we're gonna shift gears and focus on some redesigns. These have become mandatory for an old project like this, so let's go! First up on our list is the Snowbelle line, a ground and poison type line based on lions and, more importantly, manticores. These 3 are actually up there as one of my favorite Fakemon lines from the original project. It was so awesome that somebody made fan art of it on DeviantArt. That being said, it is pretty dated and, bland, I guess? I don't know, I just feel like they needed more. And I was actually thinking of redesigning this line back in episode 8, but that never happened, so I figured, why not do it now? If I'm being honest, Snowbelle's original design wasn't half bad. Although, like with a few previous entries, it is old and could use an update. I also wanted to give it a secondary theme that'll make the line more interesting. During the process, I gave it a collar that resembled what I believe is called an Usek, which is a collar worn by pharaohs in ancient Egypt. Turns out that the Manicore has parallels with the mythological Sphinx, so it was the perfect addition for this ground type's new look. The fur on Snowbelle's tail and head resemble scorpion stingers. Don't worry, they only resemble stingers, they're not venomous. That's for the evolution. Colors are pretty standard for a ground type, but I added some blue to the extra fur in order to heighten its Egyptian motif. It's also very striking against the tan and white of its body. Snowbelle, the lion cub Pokemon, a pure ground type. Snowbelle are feisty at a young age and enjoy playing with others in their pride. They seem to have a natural immunity to venom, with later studies finding underdeveloped venom sacs in their bodies. Right, on to the middle stage, Scorleo. My goal for this design was to make it a better transition from Snowbelle to it and Primacore. This was originally done via spots that turn into purple plates on its back, but for the sake of the Egyptian theme, I had to scrap it. Its tail and collar are now larger and more detailed, but it also has Egyptian eyeliner. This eyeliner also works for a middle stage Pokemon because, you know, it's the teen phase. That and its very emo main style. There isn't much of anything else that changes here. The palette's a little darker with the addition of gold, and the blue has switched to violet, highlighting Scorleo's new type. You know what? I don't really like that name anymore. How about I call it Mantleon? A combination of Manticore, and or Mantle, pick your poison, and Leon, which translates to lion in a few languages. Yeah, that sounds a little better. I can work with that. Mantleon, the Stinger Pokemon, a ground poison type. Mantleon's venom is more developed than Snowbelle's, allowing them to protect themselves with potent stings. They appear distant towards others, but are really quite temperamental. It is ill-advised to agitate one in the wild. The final form is upon us! Here's a fact for you. Like with the floral line, I designed Primacore's new design after Samba's. I also wanted to prioritize drawing the male version here because yes, this is the only line in Erblin with gender differences. Don't worry, I'll draw the female version off screen. Since coming up with it, I knew I had to make its mane resemble a pharaoh's headdress. Both cover a majority of the wearer's head, so combining them was a natural fit. As a result, the head took a bit to finalize, but it's no biggie. It just means I can carry over the Usec from the prior forms. I was able to keep the double-pointed stinger, however. I couldn't possibly leave that out, it looks too fucking sick. And it makes it part scorpion without relying on the obnoxious purple arthropod plates that the original had. And one final change I want to make is towards its name, like with Mantalian. Primacore sounds cool, but I really wanted to lean more into its Egyptian theme. So I tweaked it slightly to Hieracore. Hierarchy and/or hieroglyphics plus Manticore. Hieracore, the Stinger Pokemon, a ground poison type. These venomous Pokemon live surprisingly social lives. Females are more efficient hunters than the males, however both will eagerly defend their territory. So, this is the new Snowbelle line. What do you guys think? While we're here, I can talk more about the female Hieracore. It has the Usec that was carried over from the prior stages, and its muzzle and paws are now darker. This is a reference to the Set animal, a black critter associated with the Egyptian god of the same name. This hue difference is also why Mantalian's muzzle and paws are grey as opposed to white. I also just realized that Mantalian incorporates the Earth's mantle into its name, while Hieracore incorporates the Earth's core. That was completely unintentional, but I love it. Whereas that line was old as butts, our next redesign is of a line that's very recent. So recent that it's actually been documented on this channel. The Rhinox line from episode 7, Drawing Attention. I made these three because at the time I had only drawn evolutions for other Erblin Fakemon, so I needed to introduce a new line. Initially I thought they were okay, but after spending a year dozing off and studying Pokemon designs, my perspective on them has changed. I fucking hate them. My original concept for these three was that they look like they joined together like actual Rat Kings, but the execution is so crap! It made the line suffer from add-on syndrome, and it pales in comparison to other Rat King Fakemon out there. I'm really disappointed in these three. With such a brutal concept, I did the bare minimal to do it justice. So my mission now is to fix this line and make them more interesting. And I think I know how to do that. As I mentioned earlier, this line's based on the Rat King, a phenomenon in which a bunch of rats get their tails permanently tied together. This is wildly associated with Germany, what Erblin's based on, but at the time I had no idea why. That is, until I did my research. I found that one of the oldest recorded specimens happened to be stuck in a man's chimney as he was cleaning it. There are people like this called chimney sweeps, which were big in parts of Europe in the 1500s. And rats, despite their gross reputation, are actually quite sanitary. So let's scrap this old concept and turn these rodents into soot-sweeping lads. For Rhinox, I didn't want to mess with the design too much. Its general design was the least deplorable out of the whole line. However, I did add some fur onto the top of its head and made its tail look like the brushes that chimney sweeps use. Some rodents also have that kind of tail, like the jerboa. These new features set Little Rhinox up for the biggest change of its life. And that's not the end of it. Its color palette will change too. The original line used the exact same palette throughout. Here, I lightened the purple on Rhinox while giving it darker patches along its body. This is to reference soot that comes out of a chimney. Off-screen, I gave it dark spots on its back to make it look less empty. Look at this cute little fella. Ratamen, the sweeping Pokemon, a pure poison type. Ratamen is often regarded as a pest in the Erblin region. However, in actuality, it is very hygienic. When threatened, it creates poisonous clouds of soot using the dirt and toxins stored in its bushy tail. Okay, it's time to evolve this rat. As previously addressed, the original line was all too samey, so my goal for this evolution was to make it look different from Ratamen while expanding upon its chimney sweep theme. For example, the tuft of hair on its head loosely resembles the hats they wear. I decided to have it stand on 2 legs, an idea I carried over from Erolenis' initial sketch. This also allowed me to turn the spots on Ratamen into a large patch of fur that mimics a jacket. I eventually decided to give it 2 tails like Ambipom, but they'd be tied up in a knot like with real rat kings. I imagine this guy can use its tails like brushes, so I gave it an appropriate pose. It took me a bit to finalize both that and the knot in the tail. Those were annoying, but I eventually succeeded. Colors are largely the same from its pre-evo, but there's a lot more black in the design. I also added magenta to both the tips of its tails and its chest, but I didn't really like it, so I switched it to a light lavender off-screen. Bursatir, the sweeping Pokemon, a pure poison type. Bursatir lead packs of Ratamen across the region in search for resources. They also teach these packs how to use their tails to effectively clean and guard themselves. Alright, this is the brand new version of the Rhinox line. Oh, were you expecting a 3rd stage? Yeah, about that. Like with the Swiftsoul line, I gave these rodents a design overhaul, and I had to sacrifice the mid-stage in order to do it. They now have a dynamic similar to Chimney Sweeps and the climbing boys they train. They're also no longer dark types because despite the dark origin, they didn't really scream dark to me. And I could really use some more mono-type lines in my Pokedex. Ratamen's name comes from the words rat, contaminate, and Kammenfegerkinder, a German term for chimney sweep. Meanwhile, Bursatir's name comes from Bürste, German for brush, soot and or creosote, and Nagatir, German for rodent. Let me know if I'm butchering any of this in the comments. Ratamen will now take Muroisen's place in the Pokedex, while Bursatir takes Venerodon's slot. But now I gotta figure out what to replace Rhinox with. Maybe another bug type? I don't have many of those in Erblin right now. Maybe it could be another early bug that doesn't evolve, like Erolenis and... What the heck was that? Dog, get the camera, we're going to investigate. Wait, what? But we're in the middle of recording. Get over here! Ah! Okay, I'm coming! The boss is totally gonna give us a promotion after we bring these over to him. What in Siren's name is going on here? Oh crap. Nice going, bozo. We caught someone's attention with that stunt. Stay back, redhead. These jewels belong to us now, and we will not let you take them. Go, try test it. Try it there. I knew it would come down to this. Luckily, I always come prepared. Alright, Sentinel, let's go! Sentinel! Now, finish him off! Try test side! Bah, you got lucky, redhead. But we still won't let you get your hands on our... Wait, what? Where's the suitcase? So, looking for this? You filthy Ratamen! We are so screwed. You are not helping! This isn't the last you'll see of us. We'll be back! These blitz grunts, man. Always low on battery when it comes to planning. Good job, Sentinel. Return! Hey, you alright? Thanks for your help. I wasn't expecting a crash landing, but it happened at the right time. Wait a second. I remember you. You were in my studio 3 years ago. It's nice to see you again. This Stellar has a lot of energy. She might have made a mess of my studio back in the day, but if I can get her to control her powers... She could prove to be very useful. Alright, I think I know what to do. Hey Stellar, I'd like to repay you for helping me back there. So, do you want to come with me? Great! Let's tackle this journey together! Stellar! Okay, Paragon, we've been here for a couple of minutes. Can we go home now? Oh, right. We're still recording. Okay, Doug, let's go. Sorry about that, everyone. I ran into a bit of trouble before. Who were those guys exactly? Well, those were members of Team Blitz, the Erblin region's equivalent to Team Rocket. They're technically called the Blitzkrieg Company, and they like to find quick and easy alternatives to everyday life. From what I've heard, at least. They used to be a pretty nice organization, until their boss went cuckoo crazy. And now their strive for efficiency has a toll on their employees, people, and Pokemon. One of their goals involves finding better energy sources, and they seem to be drawn to the Pyre Pokemon have. Speaking of being drawn to something, I wonder what's in that case. Doug, bring it over here. Oh my. So this is what they got a hold of. I would show it to you right now, but I'm afraid we're out of time. I didn't realize how long I've been gone for, so next time we'll see what this case has to offer. If you'd like to see more of Erblin, feel free to check out my DeviantArt and now Instagram, where I post full bios of each Fakemon, including ones that weren't featured in this video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a bell to get notified of new uploads. This has been RedParagonG, and remember folks, may the light of Sirith guide you on your quest through life. See you soon!